Hello and welcome to the Academy of Modern Martial Arts and our step-by-step Tai Chi instruction series. Today we're going to be looking at movement number 3 of the 24 movement form, Stork Cools Its Wings. Stork Cools Its Wings is an excellent movement to examine more closely the idea of having all of our weight on one side and developing balance on that support leg while the other leg remains empty, as well as the entire or full rotation of our hips from side to side. In this movement, you're going to be asked to get all of the weight on one leg, and you'll also be asked to twist as far as possible. So just taking a look at the movement itself, Stork Cools Its Wings comes into play right after we've parted Wild Horse's mane. So from the end of parting Wild Horse's mane, where our lead palm is in front of our sternum and our rear palm is facing the floor, we're going to slide up. And I'm going to move off to the side of the camera for a moment so I can slide up to the middle for you. So we're here, and I'm going to utilize, if you watch closely at my rear foot, I'm going to push my weight over with my hips using the whole right foot, and then I'm going to push through all the way through the big toe, allowing my hips to come entirely over that front leg. So one more time, we're here, and the hips go from being centered to being entirely over the lead leg. Once my hips are over the lead leg, all the weight should be on this support leg, and the rear leg should be empty. I should be able to pull that leg up with no weight on it. So we move it from behind right up to behind us. From toe to heel, we're going to sink back down, allowing our weight to come into that rear foot with our foot pointed at a 45. By the time our weight comes down into that rear foot, and we're comfortably over here, we're going to continue to invest all that weight into the back foot and come out of that front foot, emptying the lead leg. So one more time, again, focusing on our feet, hands are on our hips, and pay attention to your pelvis. Rather than allowing your pelvis to tilt forward, use your hands to level out that pelvis and stay parallel to the floor. So let your hands demonstrate the angle of your pelvis. From here, we're going to slide and push our weight forward. Empty right leg comes up. We're going to sit back down onto that right leg, and then we're going to twist our hips as far to the right as possible, twisting back as far to the left as possible. And as we come back to the left, notice that since the left leg is empty, it's just going to slide out with us. The hips have gone as far as they can. We turn back again all the way to the right. That empty left leg comes up. Toe is pointed. We flex and place the heel on the floor, and then we're going to twist and shift our weight forward, allowing our weight to move from the heel toward the toe of that foot as we come forward. This time with the hand movement. So again, you'll note that we're here, and even though we're doing our hands, we'll talk about the feet the first time through. So we're going to continue to turn our torso a little bit to the left as we push our weight forward. We're going to slide up and hold the ball. We're going to drop back into the right leg and twist in place. Stork cools its wings. Parrying, picking up that empty left leg and stepping out for brush knee twist step number 1. Nicely done. Let's take a look at that from the side. So again, we were in parting Wild Horse's mane here. And the goal, if you notice, my body weight is centered in between. We talked before about the tendency to help ourselves balance-wise by kind of leaning and getting our weight over the leg to help us bring this leg up. We'd like to be aware of that tendency, and just again, some of those postural cues will really help us. If we're lifting up out of that sternum and we're focusing on bringing our shoulders back, and then again, if we add the pulling up of the front of that pelvis, all of these things together will help us move our torso as a whole. So we'll go back to hands on the hips for this one, and we'll just look at being centered between the legs and then using the rear leg to push the weight forward all the way through the toe. Again, try not to dip, but stay pulled up. Draw that empty leg up, set it down at a 45, and as we sit back and down, the hips begin to twist. Left leg is empty, so as we twist back, it goes wide. Hips turn again, and that left leg comes up. We place the heel on the floor, and we twist and shift and move our weight forward. So we've got the weight shift, and we've got that rotation of the hips that I promised you. Now we'll do it from the side with the hands. So again, from parting Wild Horse's mane, we're going to slide up, And you'll notice I'll also continue to turn a little bit to the left as I slide up, draw that leg up, turn back to the right, tossing the hands over the head, twisting back, parrying once and twice, picking up that left leg, setting the heel down for brush knee twist step. One more time, we'll look at it in the sequence of the form, using it as the bridge piece between parting wild horse's mane and going into brush knee twist step. So we were here, we had stepped out for the third and final parting wild horse's mane. We slide up. Notice this constant twist, constantly rotating from one side to the other without any cessation in our rotation. And then we would immediately rock back. But this is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves as we step into brush knee twist step number 2. Last thing we'd like to look at is the arms. I think people have talked about that princess wave thing before. It's kind of like that in that we want to sequentially move through the joints is really all that means. And so everything starts with the hips. So when we look at that rotation, hips are turning to the left as we slide up, pushing through. We're going to come here, and as we sit back onto that right foot, we're already beginning this process of rotating back to the right. So as we sit down on the right leg, the right hip is moving back, which is moving the right shoulder back, which then throws the right elbow back, which then tosses the right wrist back. And by the time the hands are getting ready to finish, we're already turning that hip forward. Hip comes forward, shoulder comes forward, elbow comes forward, fingers come forward, and the leg comes out. So one last time, watching that sequential movement through the joints. We are here. We're going to slide and turn to the left forward. So slide up, draw the right leg up behind it, set it down, twist hip, shoulder, elbow, wrist, turn back, hip, shoulder, elbow, wrist. Continue to pass through and parry once and twice. That empty left leg comes up, sets down, and brush knee twist step number 1. Although Stork Cools Its Wings only happens once in the form and it happens on the right leg, we can practice the movement itself on both sides of the body and just staying centered in our feet. So we'll step back into that balanced position where our feet are shoulder width or a touch wider. If you remember our postural cues, the knees are soft, that pelvis is pulled up. We're lifted up out of that sternum, shoulders are down, crown of the head is tall. And from being seated here, we're going to go into holding a ball. But rather than holding it up and down, we're going to hold this ball at a 45-degree angle, almost like we're pressing our forearms together. So from pressing our forearms together, we're going to twist in place and practice that sequential movement. So from the hip first, the hip turns, which turns the shoulder, which draws that elbow up, which draws that wrist up. We turn back to the front of the room and we square up, showing that the forearms are sharing that angle. And from here, just rotate at the elbow, fold your forearms together. So we're holding the ball again in a 45, and we'll twist to the other side. Again, start with that left hip, allow that left hip to turn the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, and turn back to the front of the room. And we end, same 45-degree angle. Fold the arms inward into holding the ball, and we just twist in place. So if you want to practice the movement and have balance on both sides of the body, this is a fantastic stationary exercise to go into. You'll note likely that one side of the body works better than the other, or you have a little bit more coordination on one side of your body, and that's completely fine and normal. But it's nice to still practice on both sides and work on getting a little bit more fluid as we come through. Thank you so much for joining us for movement number 3, Stork Cools Its Wings, in our 24-movement Tai Chi step-by-step series. We hope that you enjoyed yourself today and found something valuable, and we look forward to seeing you again when we look at brush knee twist step or movement number 4.